Doing it this way, if you've taken your work off the wheel and you're joining the parts afterwards, then obviously you've got less manipulation of that clay because it's a bit stiffer, so you can do less with it. So what way I'm going to dry this off now, that's dusty, isn't it, is I'm going to try and avoid that top rim with the heat. But I need enough support here to hold the weight of this bit. Obviously make sure you dry your hands when you're playing with the hot air gun. It's really important to have a towel. It's one of the most useful bits of throwing equipment is the towel.
So looking from here, Tom, you undercut the spout, you back slope.
Yeah, so I put a chamfer on this top neck.
Inside there, would you do that with every piece if you were building it up?
Not if you're building components. If you're going to put things back on the wheel to join them, it's just a really good way. You could to make sure you get a good seal and that it fits together. It's going to be easier to get it back in the centre of the pot. If it's two flat surfaces, it's much harder. If you've got that tiny little chamfer, if you've got something that is the same, it's going to sit in there and be much easier to do that.
And then if you were going to do 4 or 5 pieces, you would do it so that.
Depending, if you're going to construct the 4 or 5 pieces back on the wheel, then I would try and do it.
Yeah.
If you're doing it off the wheel and you're just joining bits together, it doesn't matter quite so much. If you're just going to score and slurry it, then it doesn't really matter. If you're putting it back on the wheel, it's just so much easier then to get it back in the centre, basically. I'll show you in a second now. Just got to dry it off a little bit more. And one of the other really key things is if you're going to get into multiple piece pots or large enclosed form like Adam Buick, everyone, they always throw on backs because when it's on its back, you know it's always going to go back on the centre. Once you centre that back, the pot will go back on the centre. So I've dried that off and I'm literally, so you can see, because I made those chamfers, how easy that is to get that back on. Whether or not I can get my hand down that little hole or not is another thing. Then I've got a nice long paintbrush. I need my throwing stick that's in the...
So you don't actually scratch that out before you...
Don't need to. That top lip is so damp. I didn't dry that at all.
Yeah.
I have got a little throwing stick in my toolbox, but...
Will any of these paintbrushes later on?
No, because they're plastic. But thank you.
That's it?
Oh yeah, yeah, that would do, Lucky, yeah, that would do. Lucky's got something.
Good on,
Thank you, Lucky. So you can get throwing sticks. They look, and I'll show you mine before I stop this. And it's just a stick, and it's got like a little hockey puck sort of shape on the end that you can sort of get down inside the neck of your pot and do this. So now that's joined back up. Now that would have been really hard for me to do that. I'm quite confident throwing 1-2 pounds of clay, but to go up to 3 pounds, that's a different ball game. Like, it really is. When you start doubling and trebling the amount of clay you're using, you put so many different stresses and strains on the clay because of just the weight of it. It would have been, I would never have been able to throw this in one go. So one of the things you've got to be careful of now is getting water down the inside. So if you were going to do something like this, what you might do is spend a couple of hours making 10 or 15 necks, putting them on the side, making sure that they're a good sort of leather hard state for when you're joining them back on.
But you could just not do that and just put them on wet like what you did.
Yeah, you could do it. It would have been really hard for me to make that shape in one piece, especially this sort of enclosed form.
So if you made a load, then you would have to score them before you started joining them?
Not as long as you're doing it in the same day. You've got quite a lot of slurry available here if you just wanted to sort of smear that around the edge, but you should be able to pretty much join just by sticking them on. I mean, obviously that was very wet, so just by actually sticking it on, that osmosis was sucked into the dry side and would have stuck it. What's the classic thing now is I'll get it out of the kiln, we'll put it in the raku kiln and the neck will snap off. But that might be because I couldn't get right inside to... But to actually throw that form in one piece is very tricky. It can be done, but it's going to take a few hours of practice.
If you actually fire that in a normal kiln, you know, it shouldn't snap off.
No, it shouldn't do, no, because there won't be so much thermal shock involved.
That's nice shape, that.
I don't mind a bit of applause. I've been doing it a while. Now I've got to try and get up. That's the other thing, right? Hot air gun. I'm not a domestic ceramicist in any shape or form. I've made some mugs and stuff in the past. So I've never thrown on backs. Ideally, again, if you were getting into these and you had a commission of 50 bottles, well actually last year when I did 100 bottles for ICF, I didn't use a bat at all. I use these. Pardon?
You're making them in one piece, so when you...
They were all one piece, yeah. But they weren't anywhere like a shape like that. I would struggle to throw that in one piece. Really, like, I mean, that's really quite a tricky shape to throw. People can do it, but they're probably much better throwers than me.
So you're drying it off now so that it won't deform.
I'm just going to dry it off so it's dry enough to touch, wire it off, pick it up and take it off the wheel.
Yeah.
I'm not intending to turn this, So just by holding this on there for 30 seconds, I know I'm not going to deform the pot. I know it's going to be safe. Not going to be any finger marks on it. I'm going to be able to just pick it up and put it on the thing. With the bottles that I made for ICF, I made sure that they fitted on here, so I just did it with a... You do need to dry your hands though, but you can then just wire it off. For some people it's much easier, and then you pick it up and then you've got rid of that horrible water underneath swishing it around and stuff. Okay?